Prescott and Joe Cole alongside me here. We're going to hear now, though, from Pep Guardiola. He is with Becky.
Pep, it's a point on the road. Did you like what you saw from your team today? What are your thoughts?
Of course, they had the momentum the first 5 minutes, and after the goal they scored, they have 5-10 minutes. Always some jet spark in that moment is always there, but in general, we play really good with 0-1. We have bad decisions in the last moment for make it 0-2. We have. So it's so difficult. Their physicality, defense so deep, defense so well, so high, and defense so deep, and it's what happened, lately. But we had the chances. Pop was brilliant in 2 or 3 saves. But we take the point.
Josko Gvardiol opening the scoring for you. Got a flurry at the end of last season, off the mark now. How impressive is it for a defender to be that composed and balanced in front of net?
It's really good in small spaces. Sometimes in the bigger spaces have more power than the small. In small spaces, it's really good.
The second half, their penalty. Any complaints about that from you? Was it a pen for you?
I didn't see it, but apparently it's penalty, yeah.
Did you have a different set of problems that you had to solve in the second half? Because Newcastle sort of came out, played a bit quicker, no?
When we scored the goals, when we played better, we make a mistake, and after that, they were better. But after we take the game again, and at the end we had the chances to win.
How do you think the Rico Lewis, Mateo Kovacic role went?
They played really good. Mateo was brilliant, Rico as well, and Bernardo won't play in that position. Yeah, they play really good.
In a game like that, are you looking for a player somewhere in that midfield to take the game by the scruff of the neck?
That was not the reason today.
Thank you very much, Pep.
And we're delighted to say that Anthony Gordon has joined us pitchside as well after that draw. Firstly, congratulations. Was that exactly the sort of reaction and response that you needed?
Yeah, like I said before the game, I could feel we would have that reaction based off the training we've done. We've had a training week where everyone was kicking each other. You can see everyone weren't happy from the previous game. So I just knew coming into this one we'd be in a much better place.
How hard was it going in a goal down at half-time, given the way you started that game?
It was hard against City because you never want them to have any sort of advantage, but we felt okay, to be honest, at half-time. We were very positive. We always felt like we'd get moments, like I said before the game, and when we did, we took them. What
was the manager saying to you? Because there was a real increase in tempo and energy in that second half.
Yeah, I think just the way I play striker, you'll see a lot of pressing. Because I'm not out-and-out number 9, I have to sort of play it my way. So you can see him shouting at me to get up and press the keeper, which can be hard at times, but it's just what I've got to do.
Let's have a look at the way you won that penalty then. Just talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, I just sort of bet me run. It was 1-on-1. I thought I was going to be offside, to be honest. And then the closer I got to the keeper, he just smothered me. I tried to take it around him and he fouled me.
So how early did you make up you was going to take him on? Because for me, it looks like you knew you was going to take him on as soon as you went through and was clear with the defenders.
No, I never. Yeah. So when on my second touch here, I see he's really close to me, and I don't want to risk just like shooting at him and saving him.
You know, you said you thought you might be. How much does that play on with the VAR and that? 'Cause we never played in that era. Like, you're going through and you know it's a penalty because he's clipped you. But
so maybe it does play a part. It's a good question.
And that's 11 points now for this season. How good a position that is for the team to build on, sort of given some of the performances haven't been at the top level earlier on?
Yeah, I think it's a really good place to be, considering we've been nowhere near what we can do. We've got so much more to give, but that's our level now. That's our standard in terms of effort, and no matter who we play, we have to stick together and dig in like that.
And just a bit of cramp at the end for you. I think a few of the fans were a little bit worried there.
Yeah, the snipers were out. Sniper in the car.
You obviously had a very busy summer. How close do you feel you are to getting to top levels?
Yeah, I'm still a bit off. I'm getting there though. Days like today against teams like this where it's just constant running will help me. But last season I was at the peak of my physical shape, and I'm getting closer. I'd say I'm probably about 90% now, so I'm feeling good. And on to Wimbledon now. You know obviously what it would mean for the fans here to get a trophy, so it's huge for the fans, that game. What are you?
Go on.
It's massive. That's our priority. I think everyone who I've seen do an interview this year has said that's the main priority, is a trophy. And like I've just said then, whether it's Man City or Wimbledon, we have to play the same and hold our own standards.
What's Joleon like as a coach before we let you go?
Really want me to tell you?
Spill the beans.
No, he's class. He's class. I love working with Joel. He joins in sometimes.
What did you do?
He's usually on my team, fortunately.
Have you been one-on-one against him yet? Have you been one-on-one against him?
Yeah, we're just discussing this. I can show you the clips if you want.
I'd love to
pull
see
them out of the bag.
I'd love to see
He thinks that there's somewhere he's locking me up, but I can't remember them.
I thought we'd fall out today because I thought he was going to say it wasn't a penalty, but
It was a pen.
Yeah.
He's not a liar. He's not a liar.
The City and you didn't come through.
Andy, thank you very much for coming out to talk to us.
Thanks,
we really
guys.
appreciate it. Well
Thanks
done on
very
the
much.
point
Thanks,
today.
Well done, big man.
What are you saying, Joel?
No, I was just going to
Wimbledon,
say to him, you know, Geordies are desperate to win a trophy. That's
We
what I'm
are,
saying.
we are.
You know, I was
That-
going to say, can you win Lindsay a trophy?
that cup game brought back to St James's Park because of the issues with the pitch against Wimbledon. If Newcastle get through, though, Joe, it's Chelsea.
Yeah, well, that's the end of the road for them then, isn't it? No, I think this club done fantastically well. I thought they was above the curve to get in Champions League football. And I think they got in. They wasn't quite ready. You know, they wasn't able to invest. I think it's imperative because I know what a trophy would do to this city. So in the week, you know, get through. Can you get to the quarterfinals and see what happens? But this club lifting a trophy will be the next step.
What did you think about Gordon today, sort of in that more central position, Jolien? Because I know with England, obviously that left-sided position feels up for grabs for him. So perhaps he really wants to stay there.
No, I think in terms of involvement, you probably get more involvement as Anthony from the left-hand side. He's a winger that loves 1v1, but having worked with him for years now, and especially in under-21s, he played as a number 9 for us in the tournament, was player of the tournament as a number 9, and you can talk about it being a false number 9, but he's someone that wants to win in behind. I've never met someone that's so enthusiastic about working as hard off the ball as he is in possession, and you can see every action is 100% effort, so there's no surprise that he gets cramped.
I'm really impressed with him in that position, and I think he gives you an option. And I think England can't answer because he's in the stuff, but from an outsider looking at England, I think that's a food for thought for the manager, because playing him in there, the pressing was exceptional. As good as a pressing performance from a number 9 I've seen in a long time, because there's not many that buy into it as much as he does. And that set the tone tonight. Listen, Newcastle were brilliant behind the ball, all of them, but he was so important for them winning that game tonight. And it's come off the ball.
Yeah, but you also have to have a very high IQ, footballing IQ, and he's got that.
Yeah.
To play the 2 or 3 positions that he's played this season exceptionally well, all of them, and have that impact, you have to have a very high IQ.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got Harvey Barnes now as well, and because of course we know the injury problems that Callum Wilson's has it gives Newcastle that other option, doesn't it? Especially if Isak can't play.
I think you'll see him in that position a lot more. Maybe not starting, he might finish games there. You know, and going back to, he's got the IQ. I think a lot of these young players, these wingers in particular, they're brought up playing in multiple different positions. So it's not a problem for them. They're very well coached, they're very well drilled, and they know how to do it. So I can see him, he can play left, right, central. Fantastic.
Good day for Gordon, good day for Nick Pope as well today, Jolien. How good was that save from Bernardo Silva?
Massive save. Would have done his confidence a world of good. And again, just was accomplished, didn't make any mistakes, and always the case for a defender or a goalkeeper and defending money players. You want to kind of go unnoticed to an extent, but this save is so important at a vital time. This is when Man City turned up the pressure a little bit. Phil Foden an opportunity at that, and them saves are probably simpler than they look, but made by his positioning, his understanding of where can he finish, where are the only gaps I'm leaving, and he's leaving small gaps, and he's putting himself in a great position to make saves.
Yeah.
Such a good shot stopper.
Yeah. No, he is world-class shot stopping, coming for crosses. The only thing with Nick is that it's on the ball. So, you know, he can only play for certain clubs because of the way he lends the ball. Rather, now you see on the flip side, the other goalie's zipping it into, he's whipping the balls in, he's back-heeling it. That's not Nick Pope, but shot saving, unbelievable.
What did you think of the reaction second half then for Newcastle? Going in a goal down, but having played quite well, the way they came out in that second half, Jolien?
I think that helped. Again, I think they would have anticipated potentially going behind at some stage in the game, but it wasn't behind on the false pretenses, or they didn't feel like they couldn't get back into it. Like I said, it was a very open game in the first half, and then the second half, when they get back into it with a goal, all of a sudden momentum changes, and we always say it's the old cliche, goals change games, and that was the case. And they probably at times they didn't get enough numbers in the box, but they had to apply so much effort and energy in every aspect of the game. It's always difficult when you're asking Joe Linton to kind of add to a defence and be a 5-man defender, and then all of a sudden asking him to get up into that position box as well. It's going to be difficult.
Joe Linton was brilliant today.
Yeah.
He was playing dual role with central midfield, getting on the press. He was dropping, he left back. He was dealing with Haaland at times when he was dropping into the back five. He could have easily been man of the match as well.
Yeah, it was a classic Joe Linton performance, which he needed in that midfield today. Lots more from us to come very shortly, but the Gallagher Premiership is back on TNT Sports as well, and we've got a big one today, a repeat of last.
It's always tough, it's always tight. Same as usual out there against City.
Yeah, I know. We know how tough this game is going to be, but I think, especially when you play home, we want to have the crowd behind us from the first minute, and I think we did brilliantly, made it really difficult for them, and had some chances, and overall I think it's a deserved point for both teams.
Yeah, how frustrating was it to go behind when you seemed to really disrupt their rhythm? They couldn't get into rhythm in the first 30 minutes.
I think they had probably one chance in the first half, and obviously they scored. I think we've done brilliantly the first 45 minutes, so it was a huge disappointment, but we kept going, and I think after we obviously score the 1-1, and we deserve to equalise, and I think we came for us.
Could you feel a shift in momentum after that penalty went in? I mean, the crowd really got behind you. The noise levels went up in here somewhat.
Yeah, always when you play here, when you score, especially against Man City, the fans see how much you put into the game, and obviously they're 100% behind us, and then gives you some percentage of extra energy, and we try to go again and score the second, but at the end I think we take the point.
With that second goal that you couldn't quite find, do you think you were just missing that sort of centre-forward know-how, because you are without key players up there?
Yeah, obviously Alex is a big miss for us, but I think Anthony was brilliant up front. He ran so much, put a lot of pressure to their keepers, their defenders, so he done brilliantly. So I think we have a great squad, a lot of players, but obviously we're going to be happy when Alex is back as well.
And finally, do you think that this potentially is a bit of a turning point in the season, a point against City, but performance-wise, was that the most intensity, feistiness that you played with?
Yeah, I think it just shows what level we can be at. I think the first games of the season weren't our best performances, and today we show what we are capable of. So I think now we try to keep building on that performance and do the same in the next games, and I think it's a lot of positives to take off.
Fabian, thanks so much.
Perfect, thank you.
Newcastle with a point against the champions at St James's Park. You're watching Extra Time live from St James's Park, and here's some of the social media reaction to that 1-1 draw. Jordan saying, I thought that was poor from City. It was slow, sloppy all game. We are painfully slow in the final third. It gives teams time to get set and sit in. We've got to change something. And this one from Tyne Takes. Didn't get the win today, but that's the type of performance that can get us going this season. Excellent man-to-man. Can't fault the work rate, whatever. And this one, which says, Man City look more disjointed and predictable than usual. I've not been impressed with their start to the season, and I believe Rodri's extended absence is going to amplify their struggles. The Premier League trophy won't have sky blue ribbons if this goes on. Is it too early for that, Jolien, or is it time to get a bit worried, do you think?
No, I think it's too early. I think the 2 draws in a row, people potentially getting carried away, but you got to look at Arsenal, who are the strongest contenders from everyone's perspective, and Newcastle isn't an easy place to come to, and yeah, listen, it's slightly disappointing that they didn't win, but Newcastle will get a lot more points here against other top teams as well, so again, I think it's too early to get carried away with a negative performance from Man City.
Is it, though, that it's not just today, Joe, that we've seen some vulnerabilities, I guess, from Man City against Brentford, against Inter, against Arsenal as well, and then again today?
Listen, what this team's done, it's been unprecedented. 4 back-to-back is sensational. Champions League winners a couple of years ago. It's very difficult to keep the standards up. It's very, from start to finish. This might be their one and only little blip, and by little blip, it's a couple of draws. The standard this team set, so it's hard. You judge them from their own standards, so it's very, very difficult. There have been a few little things. It's not quite flowing like it has done. They could quite have easily have won the game. Phil Foden's ball is a yard either side of Nick Pope. They win the 2-1 and they're this unstoppable machine. So there's not much going wrong. Again, I still think the Rodri problem over the course of the next 8 months will have to be solved. Very strange today, Jolien was saying that Rico Lewis, we thought he'd come in that sort of pivot just in front, but he sort of played higher up, and it allowed Gundogan and Kovacic to come down and get it. So the balance in midfield wasn't at its best. They looked better when Foden come on, which I think Manchester City always look better with him on the pitch.
Why do you think he didn't start? Given when De Bruyne was missing last season, Phil Foden was player of the season, did so well, always in the absence of De Bruyne, but we didn't see him start today.
What do you think, Joe?
I don't know. Again, the rhythm. He came back late. We've seen missed pre-season. And the fact that Rodri was similar, got injured, as that played a factor in Pep's decision. Rico Lewis has had a strong pre-season. Played 90 minutes throughout the campaign.
Because we're almost in October now.
But it's October for the general season. But Phil Foden's probably been back, 6 weeks? And other players have been back near 12. So it's a different stage for everybody. But I'm not saying that is the reason. But like Joe said, the only strange element to that was we anticipated Rico coming in, but he operated in a high position where he was up behind the opposition midfield, turning and being able to play forward. And if you want anyone in potentially world football, it's Phil Foden. So that was probably the only element I thought was a little bit strange.
It's a good point, actually, because Rodri's played the whole of all of last season, every minute, played the tournament, went all the way, come back, and he's back in the side. He's not fatigue builds. It's a talking point. Rodri said it himself about the amount of games. So that tells me that he must have been feeling tired himself. For him to elaborate that, and if that's quite glaring for a player of his quality, we're losing for an innocuous nothing. That's from fatigue, accumulation of fatigue. The good managers try to manage that. So we'll come in and go, why is he not playing Foden? Well, he might be doing it for Phil Foden. He might be going, listen, just...
The data suggests you're potentially at risk for this, and then all of a sudden...
You think it's more of a protection thing?
I don't know, but that could be that. And again, like Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, they've played without a lot of players, so they've never been in need of any one particular player. Listen, Rodri is a massive loss, but the system that Pep's created over the last, 9 years, they've never kind of relied on any one individual, and I'm sure as the season goes on, we'll see them develop and him develop them again.
Joe, I saw you looking over your shoulder. Do you want a brolly?
No,
Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. If you want one, you can ask for one.
I'm in Newcastle. I wouldn't even wear a coat if it wasn't
they're not happy with you if they're sorting with a brolly.
Definitely not. We've talked so much about Rodri as well before the game, guys, but not so much about De Bruyne as well. How significant is his absence as well, especially given, they missed his creativity against Arsenal as well last weekend.
Especially here. We've seen him come on last year and change the game and win the game for Man City. So, players like Rodri, Kevin, they're going to be missed. They're world-class talents, so at any given moment, they may not be having the best of games, but at any given moment, they can create a moment of brilliance. And, it's always going to be tough. And probably the combination of them both being out is a massive, massive loss. But I'm sure Kevin comes
one win, 1 draw and 5 defeats without both of them, guys.
But that is a long period of time. Like the first one is going back to 2021. That's 3 years ago. So you'd like to think there's still players in this team that can contribute, again, in different ways.
Yeah, I think psychologically as well. I mean, and that's quite damning, but like Jolien said, it's spread out over a number of years. But when you're playing against... Losing them does affect their team. But when you're playing against them, it lifts you. I remember playing against Manchester United once, and later on in the season, and for some reason Cristiano was left out.
Well, we'll pick that up in just a moment, Joe. Eddie Howe has joined us. Well done, Eddie. Firstly, how happy are you with that point against Man City?
Yeah, well, I think we're happy with the point. I think you always want to win every game, but you have to respect the game and where we were in that game towards the end. We were hanging on a little bit for the point, but overall a great performance.
And how was that as a response in terms of the performance? What pleased you?
Yeah, I think that was the main thing for us. We wanted to be ourselves, and I think you could see very early in the game we committed. It's very difficult to press them, but we tried, and I thought we had some really good success in both halves doing that. I think we played our way, which is the most important thing, and the players committed to it, and individually we were much better today. That was a much better performance, but it needs to be against this team.
Yeah, you're really brave on the press, and we noticed in comms, like, even Gundogan early on when he was going at left-back position, Tonali was going, you know, left a little bit of gaps, and, you know, that's the sort of the trade-off you make, but it allowed you to get up, and if the front three, Gordon, Murphy and Barnes, were right on it. So the first 35 minutes I thought was as good as I've seen anyone against Manchester City in a long time. I
think, yeah, you're 100% right. There's a trade-off. If you're going to play that way, there's always going to be spaces sort of behind that press. But I think here it's the only way to play.
Yeah.
Because we need the crowd, we need the energy, we need to disrupt good teams, and also we need to show our qualities with the ball. And I thought we had that as well today. So it wasn't just, you know, one-sided. I thought we gave them a problem in the wide areas in the first half. Got into a lot of good crossing positions. Probably didn't create enough from those crosses, but we were getting up the pitch, which is not always easy to do against Manchester City.
Switch of play as well was working, weren't it, from one side to the other?
Yeah, other than the goal and his penalty, how impressed was you with Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, I thought Gordy did really well today, because it's a different position for him. He's got to play it in his way, and I think you can see there were some challenges for him, but there was also some brilliant moments. So his pressing, for example, gave us an ability to get to Ederson, an ability to try and destabilise their control. That's all down to his athletic ability, but also his attitude. And on the ball, you can see really highlighted by his penalty, you know, how quick he is, how dynamic he can be, and I was really pleased with him today.
War Flags put on an amazing display for him before the game as well. All the fans have been wondering what's going to happen with his contract situation as well, Eddie. Before the match, he said to us that it was close. Can you tell us any more on that?
It's close. Until it's signed.
Imminent, is it?
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, until it's signed, it's not signed. So we love Anthony. We want him to stay. We want him to be a part of what we're doing here. The War Flags display, again, speaks volumes for the supporters here. They're very intelligent. They know when a player needs a lift and some love. And then, you know, that collective show of unity for him, I think, was really important.
They did one for Sandro Tonali when he came back as well. His first start today. What was your assessment of him in that midfield?
Very good. I mean, it had to be. Our midfield was really tested today. As you say, Sandro was pressing in the wide areas. Tactically, I thought with Bruno and Joey, he was really, really good. His intelligence levels were really high, because if you make one mistake in your positioning, you can get punished. And I think he came to the fore with the ball more maybe in the second half. Fitness levels until he suffered with cramp. That goes to show there's still growth in his physical development after so long out.
Pep Guardiola has been really complimentary about you and how tough it is to play against Newcastle since you've been at the club. You had quite a long chat with him at the end of the game. Can I ask you what was said?
I think from my perspective, Pep's someone I really admire. I admire how he plays the game, how he sees the game. For me, he's an innovator. He'll consistently take the game into new ways, and as a coach, you've got to watch and understand his team and try and find solutions to those. It's not easy. But I think he's really good for the English game, the British game. Having him here makes the league better. Our challenge is to get closer and closer, or try and get closer and closer to teams like Manchester City, and they're the benchmark, really. And
a big one this week now, because you know how much the fans here crave a trophy with Wimbledon heading up here now.
Yeah, I think then it's the psychology of football really this week, because you go from Manchester City to Wimbledon, and we have to make sure that the team turned up today with the mindset and the ability to attack the game needs to be there on Tuesday. It's a massive game for us.
Joe said if we get through, because it's Chelsea, it would be the end of the road. Dropped you in there.
Wow, stitched you up.
Stitched you. Eddie, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out to talk to us.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Lindsay the snitch.
I know.
You asked for it.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe, really happy with that point there. A lot of change in the hierarchy at Newcastle as well, guys. Amanda Staveley going in the summer, Meda Gudusi. And obviously the sad news about the chief executive, Darren Eales, who is stepping down from the club after being diagnosed with cancer. So there is a lot of change. How much more important does that make Eddie Howe and the stability that he brings?
So important. I think he's signed 90% of the squad. So that is a massive factor for players. Players sign for clubs, for fans, for trophies, but also for managers. So recruiting players is so important, and he's obviously got a great balance of youth and experience. And as I said, the way he speaks about the game, just to hear that point about the psychological aspect of it, it's probably easier for him to motivate the lads for today.
Yeah.
Then coming to on Tuesday when it's Wimbledon, and they'll be expected to win, but also to manage that and keep a level of respect for the opposition. It's so important, but so is huge for the future success of Newcastle.
Yeah, gives that stability, doesn't he? And the fans love him.
Yeah, the fans love him. Listen, his position should be untenable at this club for what he's done. Don't underestimate new owners coming into the club. How they can go.
You mean the opposite of untenable?
Yeah, sorry, is that the opposite of untenable? Sorry, Linz. You've done me there.
Tenable.
She's on you today.
I know. I'm glad you picked me up on that one.
I just wanted just to check that that's what
it's a long season. It's a long season.
We're only 6 games in.
Yeah. No, his position is strengthened off the back of everything that's going on around it. But what he needs to do, I think, now to make Newcastle go on to the next stage, I think it's that ability to not be not a one-off, because it's unfair, but like more consistency within his players, and he's working with that. And you can see he's one that loves these players and works with these players. I think his staff have been fantastic, because this club could have gone the other way when they got the money in, because the fans were calling for every great manager, you know, who could have been just a journeyman manager coming out. If you want to build something, Eddie Howe and his staff, they're the right people to do it. And I think the one little spark this club needs is a trophy. And if you got that, I really think this club could go on and break the sort of monopoly. But it's going to take time. But Eddie's done a great job. But
point. Right, let's get straight into it, because everybody is debating and talking about the awarding of this penalty. Take it away without your black and white glasses on.
Well, I'm delighted it was given a penalty from a Newcastle point of view, but I didn't think it was a penalty. No, I think Gordon's gone down because it's such a poor touch. He's never, ever getting anywhere near that ball, because he realises, I think, and he somehow... I mean, if there is a touch, it's a tiny touch, and he initiates the touch, Gordon, because of such as he's onside, there's no doubt about it, but that touch to go past Ederson he realises it's going too far away from him, and then all of a sudden he thinks, uh-oh, how do I now turn this into try and get contact? Watch his right boot. He then flicks that right boot out there to get the contact. So I think Newcastle got really lucky there. I didn't think it was a penalty at all.
OK, Shay, put yourself in Ederson's shoes from the goalkeeper's point of view.
Well, I think Al's explained it really well, to be honest, Steve. I think when we see it live, then I don't think it's a penalty. I think Ederson's come out as a 1v1 situation as a goalkeeper. He makes himself big, goes down, and in a sense, he doesn't touch the ball, but he doesn't touch Anthony Gordon either. You know, I think he's clearly looked for it, and you know, it's my ex-team as well, Newcastle. You know, I'm happy to draw as well, but the officials have to come to the right decision, and I don't think it's the right decision. Now, the very first angle we seen live, we thought that's not a penalty. We've seen all sorts of different angles now slowed down, and sometimes that confuses, I think. I think the referees, what the VAR, have to make the right decision, and I think they made the wrong decision. I think it's not a penalty. I really don't. I think the referees given it. Now the people in VAR should say, just have a look at it. We think there's no real contact to give a penalty there. He sees it once, a ref.
We see it all the time. I've been in that position. I know what the forward's thinking. Your first thought is, once you make the decision to go around the goalkeeper, you've got to get your touch right. His touch is awful. His touch is taking him away from goal, and he can't get it. And once he knows he can't get his touch, his second thought is, right, how do I try and turn this into a penalty? So many players do it. So many players try and initiate the contact when they go around that. He's not getting that ball.
So therefore,
there's no doubt about it.
When they say he's denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity, is it a clear goal-scoring opportunity
no,
if he's not getting the ball?
He's not getting the ball. He might get to the ball before it goes out, but he's not getting to the ball to put it in. Therefore, his second thought is, oh, I've had such a poor touch, how am I going to turn this, or try and turn it into a penalty, if the goalkeeper hasn't touched it? So then he's got to try and flick his right foot out. So many players do it. We've seen it all the time, and we'll see another 10 or 20 this season with players doing that. That is not scoring from that position. Therefore, within a split second, he's got to try and turn it into a penalty scenario, whereas he then has got to initiate the contact. And you can see the little flick of the right boot, and if there's any contact from Ederson, it's minimal, but it's because Gordon tries to get the touch from Ederson because he knows he's not getting the ball. I've been in that situation.
I think there's a picture where Ederson jumps up to the referee there as well and points to his head as if like he's actually kicked him in the head. I think he's looking for that. Alan's right. He's flicked his right leg out and he's looking for it. Look, it's just frustrating, I think, and I'd be interested to see what Pep says after the game, but it's frustrating because whatever, the bar's changed this season said referee's decision, unless it's clear and obvious, we can't change it in VAR, but I think the decision has to be the right decision. Be that the referee on the pitch makes that decision, or the people upstairs, they have to come to the right decision. And you want, I don't know, call whatever word you want, say he's tricked the officials there. With VAR, you shouldn't be allowed to trick them at all. The pictures are clear to see, Steve, in my opinion, that's not a penalty.
Has Shea got a point? Stuart Atwell's had a look at that and agreed with the on-field decision.
I mean, we've heard them say it's going to be a really, really high bar. Look, I'm sitting here as a ex-Newcastle player and a Newcastle fan, and I'm actually saying I don't think that's a penalty. So if that's not enough, to say I think that's an error, then that should be enough. I think the one after that was more of a penalty. When Joe Linton goes down with the collision with Kyle Walker. I think that was more of a penalty than that one. Now, what's the difference between the contact and him not getting the ball and the Edison one there? Look, Kyle Walker hasn't touched the ball, yet he stopped Joe Linton getting to it. So I think that's more of a penalty than the first one. Yeah,
there's far more argument to give that as a penalty than the actual one they give him. So it's again, you talk every week about consistency. It's not consistent. If there was a one penalty, then it's definitely the second incident. But they've said no.
What'll happen is after the game, you'll speak to the players and you'll speak to the managers. Pep will say he never thinks it's a penalty, and Eddie will say, well, I think there might have been slight contact, and when you're running at that pace, it's a penalty. I get it. I've been there. I know how it works.
Having said all that, after a long wait, Anthony Gordon kept his cool, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was a threat with his running in behind, and there's a big pressurised situation. One against the goalkeeper. Who's going to blink first? And he sets himself up as if he's going to go to Edison's left and just whips it to his right-hand side. And it was a cool penalty under big pressure.
Yeah, it was a cool penalty because don't forget they had to wait as well for everyone to complain to the referee, and they're trying to sort of delay the penalty kick. And the crowd are expecting as well, St James's Park, for him to stick it away, and that takes a lot of pressure. And again, he's a player who's high in confidence. You've seen the banner before the game. The fans love Anthony Gordon in Newcastle, and they'll love him more after today.
They gave him something in that role today, though, didn't they, in the absence of Wilson and Isak?
No, he's a threat. There's no doubt about it. He's a threat in that position because of his energy, because of his pace. He's really clever at running in behind. I mean, his positioning to get into that position when he wasn't offside, Kyle Walker was keeping him onside for the penalty decision. That's what he's really good at. What Newcastle didn't help him and help themselves in terms of today was they got into some really good positions. But whether it was him not in the middle or them not delivering the right ball into whoever was in there, that's what sort of didn't help Newcastle today. But in terms of him being a centre forward, he's good in that. He's good at that job.
Now, as you keep telling me, it wasn't just Alan's goals in your career that won you points, it was Newcastle saves. And there was a very good one very late on from Nick Pope, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing because Nick didn't have a lot to do today, Steve, but his concentration levels, any young goalkeepers watching in the Premier League, the save at the last, this is an injury time, nearly last kick of the game, his concentration levels, again, to be honest, it's a save I'd expect him to make. But since he's been there, Nick Pope, he's been absolutely brilliant. A really bargain signing when you see some of the transfer fees going around. He made probably one of his very few mistakes last week against Fulham. But again, that save today, he's earned him 2 points.
92nd minute, that.
Yeah, really good save. We saw Edison last minute of the first half produce a really good save from Joe Linton, and likewise with Nick Pope there. He's not had a lot to do in that second half, but what he had to deal with, he dealt with it really well, and it was a good save.
And let's remind ourselves how he was beaten in that first half. Guardiola's 5 goals at the end of last season in 7 games. Yeah. But from Newcastle's point of view.
Yeah, we spoke as well about obviously last week the Arsenal game, and there was no width from a Man City attacking point of view. Jack Grealish keeps the width on this side, Silva on the opposite side does brilliant. Trippier jumps in, and then Dan Burn jumps in again. You'll see here at the bottom of the screen with Jack keeps his position.
And I think stand up, Shea. If he stands up to Grealish there, he doesn't go past him.
Yeah, but again, I think it's a bit of a heavy touch from Jack and sucks Trippier into to try and make the challenge. But again, it's when you make goals, always come sort of from mistakes. It's the first mistake from Trippier there, then it's played in now to Guardiola. Dan Burn makes the second mistake, and before you know, Steve, it's in the back of the net, and it's really good from Man City, but Eddie Howe will be looking at this after the game. We have to defend better on that occasion.
If he just stands up to Grealish, he doesn't go past him as easy as he does. It's because he goes in and commits to the foul. To the tackle, I should say. Once he commits to go and get the ball, He has to win that ball as a defender, otherwise his team's in trouble. They're all over the place then because other players have got to get out of position because of his mistake. Dan Burn does exactly the same.
From Manchester City's point of view, they're still top at the moment. They're still unbeaten. But you felt without Rodri, they weren't quite their normal selves.
It just seemed a wee bit flat today, I felt. Obviously, De Bruyne was missing as well. And Foden's not started in the Premier League this season, so they're still not up to full speed, I don't think. Guardiola looked a bit frustrated on the sideline today. They didn't seem the Man City of old. We're normally sitting back watching this could be any scoreline, you know, at any opposition because they're so good. But again, that news of Rodri this week, I think it's probably hit the club quite hard because he's instrumental in everything they do. Even a couple of, you know, snapshots that Kovacic had second half. You know, if a Rodri's arriving then perhaps it's a different outcome. He's so influential in this team. And again, they'll have to learn to deal with that as a football club as much as anything because he's so important. Even Rodri in the summer, when you see what he done for Spain, he was absolutely instrumental in them winning the Euros, you know. So he's a big loss for them.
I think listening to Pep's language in terms of the way he talked and spoke about Newcastle and the ground and the atmosphere and how tough it is at St James's Park. That was he knew that without two of his big hitters in Rodri and in Kevin De Bruyne, going to St James's is always difficult anyway, even with those two. But without them, it was going to be a tough afternoon. And yeah, I didn't think they were great in what they did, but in terms you couldn't fault their effort, couldn't fault their determination. They didn't have as much spark as perhaps you'd expect them to.
From a Newcastle point of view, you're right, they haven't hit the standards yet, but they've got 11 points from the first 18. The last time that happened was 13 years ago under Alan Pardew.
Much better today, much better. I think what I have been saying, and a lot of the fans have been saying, is before last weekend against Fulham, they were getting the results without playing particularly well, and all right, that should be a good sign. But then they didn't perform well last week, and they got nothing, deserved nothing last week. So you've got to see a response. And we hadn't seen the Newcastle in terms of overpowering teams, which is what Eddie and Newcastle did so well for his first and second year in there. We hadn't quite seen that this season yet. For the first time, I thought, other than 5 or 10 minute spells in other games, for long periods today, I thought it was much better.
Talking of the Newcastle United manager, let's hear from him. Here he is, Eddie Howe.
Be battling, but I suspect a bit more than that. You'll be very happy with that, I should think.
Yeah, we are happy, especially after last week. That was a good display. That was us playing our way, brave. I thought it was, two teams going right at each other for probably 70 minutes. The last 20, I think they were stronger than us, and we had to defend really well to maintain the point.
Did you feel you could have got a bit more in the first half? You certainly got it in the second.
Yeah, I felt there was opportunities for us. I thought we gave them a problem early on in the game. We get into really good crossing areas. Probably didn't get enough bodies in the box from those crosses and enough goalmouth action for the areas we got in. But I was really pleased with how we were attacked the game, how we were off the ball, on the ball. Yeah, I can't ask for much more than that. The lads gave everything.
He's a happy boy.
He's happy, yeah, and Al spoke about, before the game as well, about saying they have to press City, they have to play in the front foot, and I was surprised they actually did that. But give Eddie credit for that as well. He's had the whole week. They've had no midweek football with the League Cup getting cancelled this week. They've had the full week to prepare, and he's obviously gone, right, it's Man City at home, we're still going to go and press them high up the pitch. And I was surprised, but you've got to give the manager credit as well, because you're playing against the best team in the league, of course, and they did that, and he's right, maybe they didn't commit bodies forward enough into the box, and that final pass or that final cross, maybe they lacked that in the first half especially, but he'll be really happy tonight with the point.